Hello, I'm Andrew Marr, and I've written a history of the world, no less. It goes with an 8-part television series, but it is an attempt to tell a reasonably comprehensive but modern, up-to-date history of the world, much more about places like China and India and South America, perhaps rather less on Europe than the old histories of the world, and I'm here at the Cheltenham Literary Festival to talk about it. In history, there are no such things as impersonal or abstract forces. All human history is shaped and made by human beings. And of course, everybody who is important in history is in that position because of the space and the time that they happen to inhabit. Nobody could have invented the steam engine had they been born in medieval Europe. And so everybody is embedded in their own societies and times. However, individuals make history, and some individuals are much more important than others. There were lots and lots of vituperative beer hall agitators in Munich after the First World War. The fact that Adolf Hitler was the one who brought together the early Nazi party is incredibly, and not somebody else, changed human history. There were lots of Mongolian tribesmen starting to come together at the time when Temujin, and later known as Genghis Khan, started to weld together the tribes of that part of the world. The fact that it was him and not somebody else, hugely important. And so, yes, in some ways this is an old-fashioned great man, great woman view of history, so long as by great we don't mean morally attractive, because some of them are the biggest bastards around. But that's something where television always wants to know, this person at this moment did or said this and the result was that. And I find it very useful discipline for when I've been writing the book. I think it's made the book sharper, funnier, and frankly less woolly. Britain was a hugely significant world player. The Industrial Revolution, even more than the Empire, and the question of why it happened in Britain, rather than, for instance, in Italy, is one of the questions I look at in some detail in the book, much more than in the television films, actually, because you'd have looked at Italy, perhaps in the year 1600, and it was brimming with inventors, it was brimming with people of enormous mechanical skill, small-scale factories, if you like. There was very advanced banking compared to other parts of Europe at the time. So why didn't the Industrial Revolution kick off in Italy? Why did it have to wait until Britain 150 years later? Answers in the book. I am luckily one of the least powerful men in the planet. I'm just a hack. I'm just a writer and a broadcaster with a view. But this book has a very strong underlying theme to it, which is the mismatch between our tumbling, accelerating agility and scientific understanding on the one hand, so that we understand the origins of life, or think we do. We understand our own consciousness even, and we're starting to probe things like dark matter. That, on the one hand, and the lack of advance when it comes to controlling our appetites and our angers, all the things that are controlled by politics. We are not politically very advanced compared with where we started, even though we're scientifically very far advanced. And the gap between the two is the greatest challenge to the next two generations of people alive on this planet. That's really what the book will eventually say. I would say a country that does not have a lively culture of physical bookshops is not a civilized country at all. It's not simply that the physical heft and feel and look of a book in your hand contributes to the sensual pleasure of reading it. We know that we are three-dimensional, fleshy animals living in a three-dimensional world. We are not digital abstractions. And, the book is enormously important from that purpose. But also, I find a bookshop a place where I go and think as I'm wandering past titles, where I come across books, I come across authors I would never frankly find if I was just wandering across my keyboard. Also, a good bookshop, well staffed, well run, will make its own suggestions. So you won't only be experiencing the books and the space, you will be getting personal connections with some of the staff that run that bookshop, what's exciting them. And I find a lot of the time that changes what I'm reading.